Labor put in place guidelines, and we believe that at least would provide certainty that what we've seen couldn't happen again. Now we found out that in the last 24 hours that the current government has reversed some of the protocols that were put into place to try and prevent the tragedy which we saw happen in the early hours of yesterday morning. I think the government does need to reconsider its position. Labor certainly doesn't want to see this issue of recriminations be politicised. But what we do want to make sure is that what happened in the early hours of yesterday morning can't happen again.
Well, I think we're confusing two things here. The document that governs the way that Australia deals with the death penalty is there's guidelines which are very explicit for the Australian Federal Police about how they deal with evidence in death penalty cases. Now those guidelines were updated in 2009 by the then Labor government and they are the same today. We're using the exact same guidelines that the Labor Party used when they were in office. And I might say that I'm pretty outraged and offended that the Labor Party would use the tragedy of 2 Australians being executed to make what is an incredibly cheap and invalid point.
And I know that the Labor Party has been promoting this false line, and I am shocked that less than 24 hours after the death of 2 young Australians, the Labor Party would seek to politicise this issue. The AFP guidelines that were put in place under the previous Labor government remain in place. They are precisely the same guidelines. And to try, absolutely not. And I am very angry about this, to think that less than 24 hours after those executions have taken place, the Labor Party is seeking to take a cheap political shot. Shame on them.
Foreign Minister Julie Bishop. Well, Independent Senator Nick Xenophon wants what he sees as the ambiguity between the police guidelines and the ministerial directive explained.
There's a contrast between the internal guidelines and the ministerial directive. This doesn't make sense why the government is saying one thing to the AFP and the AFP internally are saying something else. We need this clarified as a matter of urgency. We do not want to see a repeat of what happened to Andrew Chan and Myron Sukumaran.